How come I'm getting this? St. Patrick's?
That's why
Yeah, go ahead.
We asked for the face. At the moment.
Wake up, George. Yeah, we have to close it.
Yeah.
He'll be back. No.
Hi, George. We're going to be starting in about half a minute.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We'll turn it down a little bit. Are we on? Okay, I think we're on. All right. Here we go. Call meeting to order then. Okay. Take a look at in closed session. Oh, okay. First we need to announce that this meeting is being teleconferenced but with a board member, Mr. George Neely, who is in Calhoun, Georgia. Is that right, Ms. Neely?
That is correct.
All right. And
How long can you use their one phone?
Well, you know, I got to tell you, it's like night right here, but I not sure how long
okay. Well, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Edwards, how about leading us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have substituting for Danny Utterman from Bear Creek, Ethan McLaughlin. Thanks for coming. Are you the Vice President?
Yes.
Okay. So every once in a while, the Vice President has to show up anyway. Okay, good. Thanks for coming. Okay, in closed session. When I find them, I'll tell you what happened. There they are. There they are. Okay, Mrs. McFarland motioned and Mr. Porter seconded, and the board approved the appointment of Magenda Cruz as elementary principal at Davis Elementary School. Effective date is to be determined by the following vote of 7 yes, 0 no. Regarding legal counsel, anticipated litigation cases, the first case, Mrs. McFarland motioned and Mr. Nava seconded, and the board rejected claim 573750 by the following vote: 7 yes and 0 no's. And in the second claim, ending in number 49, Mr. Heavily motioned and Mr. Knack said seconded, and the board voted to reject by the following vote: 7 aye, 0 no. And that is it for closed session actions. Dr. Horscher, Superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have a couple pictures to show you. Let's see which one pops up first. There we go. This is the latest edition of the San Joaquin County Office of Education's Outlook, which is their newsletter that they send out. And this lovely young lady here is one of our students. This is a student from Larson Elementary School. Picture taken by our very own Chelsea Von Geer. So thank you very much for being us on the cover. we have? Okay. Oakwood Elementary School received an award, so I'd like to acknowledge Oakwood Elementary School at the PBIS conference. They were given the gold level, which is, yeah, that's a wow. Whoever said wow back there, that's a wow. That's the highest level of implementation of PBIS, so thank you very much to that staff for working so hard on their PBIS efforts. Also want to announce that one of our math instructional coaches, Abigail Bates, has been selected to participate in a focus group at the State Department level to revise the California math framework. And that's quite an honor. Not very many folks are chosen to do that. It's very important work, as you know, getting our frameworks updated. So we're happy to have somebody representing Lodi Unified on that. I also want
to know how she does.
Well, we'll see how the framework turns out, I guess, right? But yeah, we'll keep you posted. Also want to acknowledge our staff who worked on the college and career night that we had recently. Once again, it was an incredible event. I know that many board members were there, and our student reps may be able to share too how that went. Cindy Metler again did a fantastic job in her committee, so thank you very much to that group for putting on a fantastic event for our community. Thank you.
Okay. All right. At this time we have some comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes, but is welcome to distribute any materials to board and or staff. Due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. I don't have any cards saying anybody wants to speak, but if you would like to, now's the time to do it. Oh, there's one.
Oh, there's a hidden one.
Oh, okay. If you fill one out, it must be you because we only have one. Ms. House? Yes.
Good evening. So my name is Rosie House. I have been have lived in Lodi for the past 10 years. My children attended Borchard Elementary, Lodi Middle, and they graduated each from Tokay High School. Youngest is doing her second year in college right now. I'm not a stranger to being involved in school. I was on the PTSA with Tokay High School with Miss McFarland. I'm simply here this evening because of a story that was in the news regarding a student at Tokay High School that experienced bullying, and Chelsea via social media invited me to come to this board meeting, I'm assuming to make just a public comment as a citizen and as a concerned parent. I'm here just to support that family, to support really any student that is experiencing bullying. Me being a parent who, my youngest daughter, when she attended Borchard experiencing bullying, for a whole year she was there. I watched her go from this bubbly social butterfly to this very dim and sad little girl and it was very heartbreaking for me. As a parent, I did everything I could, and I tried to go through all the channels as far as beginning from the teacher to the principal. I even made phone calls to the school district. And over her entire school year, the message that we really received was, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't really have anything set in place to help you. So I'm here to voice that. I was reading through many of the documents of the Lodi Unified School District, and several of them mention safe environments for children. In fact, on social media, your public information officer, and I quote, stated things such as, we want every child to feel safe on campus. I can assure you that our staff investigates and responds accordingly, and we do not condone violence and bullying on campuses. And I'm sure you might feel that way, but I can't believe that I would be like one of the only families in the entire city of Lodi that has gone through what I've gone through. I'm sure there's other people. I'm just brave enough to stand before you and tell you what I've been through. And lastly, I'm not here to set any unrealistic expectations. I know that you can't possibly control every outcome in every school. But what I am here to ask you is to consider my voice, consider the voices of the people that are not here, that don't know how to speak up for themselves, that are not speaking up, of the children that are experiencing bullying, and just revisit your policies, revisit the way things are done, perhaps the channels of communication. Again, I'm a person that I go by the book, and I went through every channel I could think of, and to no avail, no response, no help. Thank goodness that my child is surrounded by a group of people that are very supportive and continue to build her self-esteem up and continue to help her get through this experience. And once she went through the rest of her school year, she's doing great, and she's succeeding in life right now. So that's all I was here to share with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have any other public comments? Okay. Board comments. Anybody on the board have, okay. This meeting's not here?
Yeah.
Okay.
When we had our board meeting at Julia Morgan, I made a suggestion, and I just kind of introduced the idea of moving our all of our board meetings back to this location here until we can find a suitable replacement, if there is one, for having meetings at North Stockton. Julia Morgan is just not the place to have it. It's horrible acoustics. The live feed, what do you call it?
Live stream.
Yeah, live stream. The live stream capabilities are not there. So instead of increasing public contact, it probably reduces public contact. So the point of bringing it up again is I would like it as a board discussion item on the last meeting, so the next meeting, so that we can actually kind of make a formal decision as to kind of what our consensus is about leaving the meetings for next year all here until we can find something suitable. That's it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Porter? Sure.
Yeah, I want to echo the previous lady that came up, that it's very important that our schools be safe, most importantly for our students, but also for the people that are working there. An old teacher, great mentor, told me once, make sure that your class isn't the worst place for them to go during the day, for students. And that's what we have to ensure, is that our schools are welcoming, kids feel free to be who they are, and work in an environment that is positive and opens themselves up to exploring new things, new ideas in a self-environment, being able to express that. And any time that they feel confined and locked in and bullied, I guess would be the word here, that doesn't happen. So we have to make sure that our schools are doing that, and we've talked a little bit about that today, earlier as a group. The other thing happened at Julia Morgan, and I've asked this 3 weeks ago, and I bring it up again in open session, is that I've asked for assessment information on the CP, non-CP situation at our high schools. And this has been going on now for over 3 weeks, and I've asked for assessment on the success of kids that fail CP and are put back into CP, or those kids that go from failing CP into non-CP. How are they doing? And I have not gotten any information back, Dr. Washer, and I would like to get that. I was assured that I would get that information back. And the third thing, and I don't know if this is a forum, maybe with Mr. Knax that could bring it up, is I do believe our closed sessions should start at 5:30 and allow us more time to do the work that we need to do to fulfill most of our requirements, especially dealing with the issue of safety. So that's I'm throwing that down in open session, that our closed session should start at 5:30 from now on. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Washer, for recognizing College and Career Night. I went with my grandson. He just loves when I talk about him at these meetings. He's a senior, and we had a fantastic time. It was an outstanding event. Thank you, the trades that were there. Thank you, the military recruiters that were there, and so many different groups that were there. And our own staff from Lodi was very well represented with the counselors and the LPPA, working with their strategies. And it was an outstanding event. And not only was just how well attended it was, but if you just took a step back, I think like Jeff and I did, and listened to the conversations. There were very sincere exchanges from individuals trying to find the right fit. And I know when I was 17, I knew everything. But
Still do.
I still do. It's amazing what I learned in those few years since. But I think presenting these opportunities and these different strategies for kids who want to go to college or want to work in our community, every year we say this, it couldn't be better, but I tell you what, Adam and Lodi did an outstanding job, and everyone needs to be committed. It was a fantastic event, and I very much enjoyed it. Also, I'd like to join with Mr. Porter and our earlier speaker, Ms. House, today about school violence. You know, in my day job, violence is something that I have to deal with, and this is one of the reasons I am on this board, to put me out of business in my day job. We have to rethink about what violence is on our campuses and how we look at it. What we used to take for granted isn't acceptable anymore. And I think it takes a new strategy. I think it takes a new commitment from the top all the way down. And I'd offered to be part of a task force to work on Lodi Unified to make sure that the problems that we're having do not continue, and that we look forward to having a safe and secure environment for every single one of our students and every single one, their families and our employees. So, and I'd be offered to be a member of that strategy and part of that solution. That's what I have.
Okay, everything these guys said about college and career night, I echo. One of the things I wanted to mention though is that, or one point of interest is at one school, in this case Lincoln Tech, offers 32 college articulated courses, which means if you take that class at Lincoln Tech and you get the required grade, and you complete it successfully, you get college credit. And that credit can go through Delta College or any other college. If you choose not to go to Delta College, if you choose to go to Delta College, you also get priority registration. So now I think there's several courses also at the 4 comprehensive high schools. This is a great opportunity that Lodi Unified School District offers our students. All you have to do is go to any of those meetings and see how expensive college is to parents. Then why are more people not taking advantage of this? And the more that we can do as a district to offer this type of education courses, I think the better off we are. So, all right, let's move on to our consent agenda. Board, is there any items you would like pulled from the consent agenda? No? Yes?
I'd like to pull A1 and A2.
A1, A2. Any others? Okay, from the public?
He's trying to pull them.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll get this one while you're looking.
You want me to wait?
Go ahead.
Kyle Harvey with the California School Employees Association. Good evening, Superintendent Washer, Board of Education. I just want to make a comment on the...
No, just tell us which one you want to pull.
I wanted to pull A4.
A4, thank you. We'll comment on that. It's already done.
A5.
5? Well, that's about all of them. All right, here we go. Mr. Nova.
Chairman, I move we approve the rest of routine agenda A.
Okay, with second, Mr.
Second.
There we go. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve some of the things on agenda A.
3 and 5.
Yeah.
3 and 6.
So, students, what do you think? You guys, you have a vote on this? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, board vote, please. And that passes 7-0. First pulled item is A1, Mr. Hebley. Did you have a question on that?
Yes, I do.
My question revolves around the self-insurance fund. And it's 2.5 million. So this is money out of the reserve that was not budgeted that goes to the JPA. So can you explain that to me, please?
We're actually transferring money into Fund 67. The workers' comp program premium is $4 million a year. The board may recall that we believe that takes us up to about 99.9% coverage, but there is a premium attached. So part of Fund 67's reserves we use to fund that, and another $2.5 million from general fund.
So it's 4 plus 2.5.
No, sir, it's $4 million. The premium is $4 million.
And this 2.5 was taken out of that fund reserve so that we could get to the 4 million to pay the contract.
The opposite. This money was transferred to the Fund 67. And the board should note that we do pay all of our expenses in terms of insurance out of Fund 67 as well. But money was transferred to Fund 67 to offset the 4.5 or $4 million.
That's kind of a different way of saying what I think I said. So in order to get to the 4 million,
Yes, sir.
we had to take this 2.5 to make the 4 million.
That's correct. Out of the general fund.
Yes,
into
that's
Fund 67.
what I was saying. Okay, so this budget transfer gets us to that 4 million where we're going to talk about an A2 for the contract. Because I pulled A2 also. All right, that's the explanation I was looking for.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of questions, Mr. Khan. First of all, money was one of my questions. Thanks for asking that, Ron. My second question is, or several questions are, in moving into this JPA, will they be handling all of our insurance? Liability, auto, everything, or is it just workers' comp?
This JP is just workers' comp, but we are also in the NCR NorCal Relief Property and Liability JPA as well.
Okay, so how many schools are involved in that? And are we part of the super group, 400 schools that Keenan is?
Gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know the numbers of schools.
Well, it's pretty important.
I know the districts are up at around the 400 and some level.
So at our last meeting, when we all voted yes to this, it was 30-ish schools we were in, so we fell somewhere in the middle. My second question to you is, are medical-only claims for workers' comp, will those be part of the new JPA, or do we have to administer those outside? Normally, those don't follow you.
Is it a medical only that starts as a workers' comp claim?
In other words, when a workers' comp claim is settled, and you have a stipulated award or at the end of it.
Plus future medical?
Plus future medical, yes.
The administrator handles all of
That will fall within the JPA, is that
Yes,
part of
ma'am.
it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because normally they don't follow you unless we were self-insured and you went, because now so that leads to my next question. If those are following us, then in my book, it's considered like luggage. So of those 400 schools that we're going to fall in, what's their luggage look like and what's our exposure there?
I don't know, but I can get you all, that there are extensive breakdowns on the participants' actual experience. So those are published in annual reports.
So I go back to, when we talked about this back in May, we talked about it being better for us and there was only 30 schools of like kind. We're now up to 400. And I don't, as a board person, I have no idea who those 400 schools look like and who they are. So for me to move forward, I would want to know who we're partnering with and what their claims look like.
We're, in terms of the 30 school districts, we are in the top 30 in terms of student or payroll. Workers' comp is invoiced or billed off of total payroll.
So would those 400 schools all be in Northern California or Southern California?
All over the state for the workers'
All
comp
over. So
program.
we're taking on whatever's happening in the LA County schools. We're now partnering with them in whatever, however they manage their schools.
We are part of the pool for workers' comp for the entire state, yes.
So do
For property and liability, no, we are just in the northern.
right, but for workers' comp, we're taking on all 400's luggage, so to speak.
That's correct.
So how come when it was presented to us in May, we were talking 30 schools? And I wasn't ever going to get behind 30 schools. Now I'm really not going to get behind 400 schools.
Well, if I indicated that, then I miscommunicated. I thought what we communicated was that we would be in the top 30 of the schools in the pool.
And that could
in
be-
terms of the payroll.
So what does it cost us per employee to administer those claims, based on that fee?
I'm sorry, I don't have all the.
Okay, because that would be, for me, that would be real important when we're looking at the cost of it. And I want to know what the largest exposure is. I would want to know what the biggest exposure claims are from other school districts, because we're partnering with them. They have our luggage and we have theirs. I'm thinking out loud here. Give me a minute. And do we know the breakdown between how many are in Southern California, or no, you don't know?
I don't, but all that's published in the JPA's annual
And so
report.
in our resolution that I was looking at, it says that we're giving, I'm looking for my paperwork. It says that we're giving joint powers appoints Leonard and April Juarez official representation. My concern is that we're giving, much as I love you, Leonard, we're giving you authority to act as a risk manager, and I'm concerned that do we have anybody in a risk management capacity overseeing these? Not that you're not aware of how workers' comp works. I know you know the numbers end of it, but do we have anybody that does claim reviews openly that has any claims experience, or has ever been an adjuster of property liability, auto, anybody on staff?
We do not have a manager in that position, but we do have an employee that oversees the workers' comp.
And does that employee have any claims experience or risk management experience other than managing as part of their job with the district?
I would confidently say they have extensive experience in the workers' comp arena, that they did practice outside of the school district in the actual profession.
Well, my only concern with that would be if they sent you to this meeting without the information that I'm asking for, would make me extremely nervous. Because anybody who's done claims knows exactly how many claims, exactly how many open, and what it is down to the dollar. So that's the only part that makes me a little bit nervous on this one.
Well, we can provide all that. I mean, we have our own claims review.
Right.
And then we also have the annual reports that we can provide. We may have to strike sensitive information on.
Right, and I'm okay with that. Before we ever get to this, I would like that information so that we're not sitting here in front of everybody being accountable when I don't have all the information in front of me. Because holding a self-insured license and having done this insurance for many, many years, the information that I've been provided is not, it's not transparent enough for me to be held accountable months and years from now when we have that type of questions come back at me. I as a previous claims person, would not be comfortable voting or getting behind this, because I don't believe the information is, for my board members, transparent enough unless any of you have extensive claims experience. 400 schools for me would be tough to get behind. And I know that's a hybrid, and I know that's the way it's going. I just would need a lot more information to get behind it, because I would feel that if something went wrong, I mean, it does fall on our shoulders. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Mr. Khan, I actually spent a great deal of time on this with an individual that handles school insurance over in San Ramon. I had a couple of questions for you. We're joining the JPA, is that correct? We are in the JPA?
We've joined
JPA PIPS, is that correct?
PIPS, yes.
Okay. And what is our rack rate? Do we come in at a certain level based on our salaries and age of our faculty, age of our employees, is that correct?
We come in at a cost per $100 of payroll. We were granted access with our most recent experience, which was, I don't have the number in front of me, but it was quite low.
Now, do we pay a fee on top of that based on our demographics?
This is the entire dollar amount for the 1920 school year.
I'm saying, is there an entry fee plus a rack rate? I mean, the rack rate we talked about. Is there an escalating fee based on our demographics?
This is the entire cost for the entire 1927.
So not everybody pays this amount, or this is the normal amount for everybody?
Every participant in the pool has a different annual cost based on their actuarial experience.
Okay. My second thing is, if a workman's comp claim was done, say, last year, right?
Prior to July 1.
Correct.
Okay.
So workman's comp was done then. That does not come into the JPA.
That's correct.
Okay, so we are now funding 2 sets of insurance.
No longer funding, we do have reserves
Well,
that are adequate.
Let me just go over this a little bit. We were self-insured, is that correct?
We were.
Okay, so we had self-insured workman's comp claims previous to our joining the JPA. We have people in place that have to handle that, and we have to have money set aside, according to the state, a certain amount to deal with those claims going forward, which can last up to 20 years.
Correct.
From what I've been told. We now are also moving into the JPA, another insurance for workman's comp. Is that correct?
That's correct,
And
starting
we'll have a
July
new-
1.
And we'll have a new set of people working with them. Is that correct?
I believe it's the same management group that's
I'm talking
handling our
about here in the
self-insurance.
district. Well, you have to have somebody here in the district doing the self-insured,
That's correct.
meeting the requirements given by the state. And the state's very conservative. You have to keep a high reserve. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we're going into the JPA as well. So I'm sure we have to have somebody in terms of employment to bridge that for us. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So now we have 2 sets of workman's comp going on. That was never explained to the board. And I had to spend a lot of time looking this up. Also, if we have a workman's comp claim under the JPA, do we have a specific level that we pay first before it kicks in? Or does it kick in right at the start?
Prior to July 1, we do have a specific level that we pay. After July 1, again, this is the total cost for the 1920 year.
So they'll pick up the cost immediately, is that correct?
That's correct.
Have we looked at, for claims that we had previous to July 1, insurance to come back and go after those claims and maybe get them to close out?
We are still being managed on those claims. We still have the administrators, lawyers, and claims administrators working on them. I believe we can confidently inform the board we have plenty of reserves for those claims. Currently, at current actuarials, cost pre-July 1 workers' comp claims at better than 14 million, somewhere between 14 and 15 million. We have adequate reserves to meet that. We have no further cost in the program prior to July 1 at this point.
Now, are we taking money, that didn't answer my question. I asked you if we can get insurance that will come in and cover all our retro claims. We will take over those claims and try to close them out.
Absolutely. We can do something called a loss portfolio transfer,
Right.
in which we pay a certain number of millions of dollars just to remove them off of our balance sheet.
They will take them and try to close them out and see if they can make some money on it.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the money that you're asking for tonight is coming from our reserve,
Partially.
and the other part is coming from the reserve from the old workman's comp. Is that correct?
No, that's part of it is coming from the reserve in Fund 67.
Okay, Fund
But
67 is a number to me. What does that mean?
That is your reserve for liability.
So it is coming from our workman's comp fund from
Yes.
July previous.
Yes.
That's
But
right.
as the board approved the transfers before, 2.5 million did come from general fund.
So we're taking money out of general fund. We still have 2 workman comp processes in place. Is that correct?
We've always funded Fund 67 out of general
Well,
funds.
now that we joined the GPA, we now have 2 funds. Is that correct?
I wouldn't classify it like
Workman
that
comp's
as at
process-
all.
Workman comp's processes.
I don't believe we do. We have an older pool that's still active, that's fully reserved, and then we have a new pool.
Fully reserved as according to the state of California that we have to meet every year. Is that correct?
That's actually in excess of that. We are fully reserved to I believe, 70% actuarial, as per the board's actuarial consultant.
Okay. Now, the reason why I spent so much time on this is because I had no previous knowledge of it. And my concern, and I brought this up 2 weeks ago, about civility, is that the board is given very broad strokes of information, and then we have to make decisions about millions of dollars for our children, correct? We have another one coming up on solar that I've spent a lot of time on. And I don't believe anybody on this board, except for Mrs. McFarland, and a little bit of information that I've dived into, is informed about these types of situations. The clarity is not there. Okay? So if you were like coaching a football team, I wouldn't know what the play was given the information that you had given out before. And I think that's unfair to our board because we have to make the decisions, and if anything goes sideways, we get blamed. Especially on the financial side. And then of course we come to you. Is that correct?
Sounds fair to me.
Okay. Now, so getting back to the information, and this covers everything that I've been asking questions about all week to both you, Dr. Washer, and Mr. Palmquist, is I'm requesting information and I'm not getting it. And I have to make decisions, and that bothers me. When I was teaching, I was in charge. When I was coaching, I was in charge. If I made a bad decision, I had to own it. I have to make decisions up here, and I don't have the knowledge sometimes. And I have to do a lot of research. And it should be coming from staff. And we have another one coming up on solar. I've spent a lot of time on it, doing my research, and I struggle with that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I do believe that we should be fully informed on the impact of this, where it's coming from. Okay? So I'm gonna on this one, a whole item, I guess, I'm gonna pass on because of the fact that we weren't informed correctly.
Mr. President. Sure. I think my colleagues have brought up very good points, and I am not an insurance person. I am not an expert on workers' comp. I'd like to see item 10 come back as an independent action item. So it would be my motion that we approve A1 with the exception of item number 10.
I would second that.
You said item 10?
However,
I don't think he said that.
With item number 10 in
Fund 10.
In A1.
Fund 67.
Fund 67.
And we see the Fund 67 come back as an independent action item with an independent report. This is $2.5 million. This goes a long way in our classrooms. I would like to make sure that we're doing the right thing in this. So that'd be my motion.
There is public comment too.
Okay. Any public comment on this?
Good evening, President Knaxton, members of the board. On other items on A1 besides 10, some questions on 1 with the realignment of the budgets affecting personnel. Can you explain E? Is E special education state to provide 1 FTE teacher special education, SDC non-severe, and 2.5 FTE teacher special education, SDC severe? Are those new positions?
They are.
Are they filled?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Have they been posted and advertised, I guess?
Sorry.
Don't know. And then going down to transportation, 3 and 5, it says transportation, I'm sorry, through the chair, home to school to decrease transportation, special education to reflect the transfer of funds from the reserve to provide for diesel. So I'm confused, are we decreasing what we're spending on transportation for special ed?
It's an even swap of 480,000 in budget from 0240 to 0230.
So we're
The answer is
increasing the
no,
home?
we're not decreasing transportation.
Okay, and I know that there have been some questions regarding home to school for special ed and making sure that we have transportation meeting all the dates and times and needs. I know we've been short on bus drivers. I don't know that that has necessarily changed. Are we able to meet all our home to school obligations? Or are we going to be
At this
outsourcing?
point, yes, but we are extremely thin on drivers. I'm told by director we do not even have a single sub at this point.
Okay, which brings me down to 5. It says to decrease transportation, home to school,
And field trips.
and then field trip budget to reflect the transfer of the funds. So are we saying we're deleting transportation for field trips?
That is not what we're saying.
What is this saying
This is
exactly?
just a budget alignment to balance with what the board has already approved.
Could you refresh me on what that is with regards to field trips?
In terms of,
Of the financial expenditures or budgeting? Because we heard at the beginning of the year, everyone who started calling in their field trip forms, they were told, sorry, no field trips. If you have a field trip, you have to end it by 1 o'clock, so you can't go past a certain distance. So, and you can't go out on the market to get a charter school bus because we don't have the funds for that. I haven't heard anything change in that, and I don't think my members have a clear vision as to what they can request for transportation on field trips.
I recall it being communicated that 9 to 1 was the optimum time for field trips. There are issues in the past in that the same drivers that are driving field trips also provide home to school transportation. If somebody is late coming back from a field trip, kids at a school sit waiting until that driver's back. So I don't recall a time when it was communicated that no field trips. I do recall a 9 to 1. I do believe that they can use their budgets to reserve an outside contractor, and I believe that it does happen.
So with regards to school district buses, no field trip can go past 1 o'clock, cannot start before 9.
I believe if they do, it puts in jeopardy the home to school routes.
Okay. And we'd like a follow-up on the positions that are listed on E as whether or not those are positions that we've advertised for. Those, as my math is, 3.5 FTEs. If there's somebody in them, if there's a sub waiting and we're waiting to hire, or if that's a refiguring of teachers somewhere else.
I have a follow-up question for that.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Khan, on the subject of the field trips, so let's say the field trip is going to be a farther distance, so they actually want to start before 9 o'clock. And just to be sure that it isn't canceled at the last minute due to a shortage of driver or a bus, they elect to do a charter. So when they do the charter, they still have to go through our transportation to get the charter, or can they do it outside of our department?
We still want them to go through our transportation.
It's been that way for quite a while.
Our transportation has vetted all of the outside contractors. There are some that the director will not allow to transport ourselves.
Some companies.
Yes, sir.
And that's fine, because there's obviously got to be a reason for that. So, do you see any obstacles to that, I guess, other than the cost? I mean, do you see that if a school wants to charter a bus, they go through transportation, and they lock down a charter bus, everything should go smoothly then, I'm guessing, correct?
But as long as when the group that wishes to charter the bus has checked the schedule and the schedule is not clear with no subs right now, we have everybody driving home
Right.
to school. I don't see any issue.
Okay, one of the things that has come up in the past is that when we did have subs and the availability of more drivers, when there was a field trip and they would contact district transportation, they would put it out to their member bus drivers to see that they could get the first option for that field trip. The danger of that now is that if there is a shortage that day of bus drivers, then they can't go on the field trip. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. Khan, what are we doing about athletics?
In terms of,
Most of them will have to leave like at 1:30, 1:15, and according to your rules or guidelines, it's 9 to 1. So what is being done for athletics?
I believe all athletics are covered. This is specifically about field trips.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody. Kyle Harvey. I'd just like to have you think for a moment about one of the realities that the transportation department is facing. You're in direct competition with a school district that provides each and every bus driver 8 hours per day, 180 days. That gives them full benefits. You're not providing that to your bus drivers here. There's, I don't know the exact percentage, there are some that work 8 hours per day, but they're designed, the routes are designed mainly to not provide those full benefits. The other issue is the fringe benefits that you're offering are much lower than the neighboring school district, who's paying their bus drivers about $1,650 a month for their health insurance and their other fringe benefits. So you can put a Band-Aid on not having enough drivers to drive field trips by contracting out that work at 10 times the price that they can do it for, or you can adjust what you're compensating the bus drivers here and start really competing for drivers. Because you're just not doing that. We've informed the district every year that I've been here that this has been occurring and that it was going to get worse. And next year it will be worse again. It's a really tough job. So you need to pay those people and you need to think about providing them an 8-hour day so that they can provide health insurance to their families. Those are the kinds of things that help retain and recruit employees. And really just take a look at what the other districts around here are providing and you'll see why you're leading bus drivers. Because I think, I mean, I would, if I was a driver, I'd much rather drive up here in Lodii. But if I had to feed my family, I'd be working in Stockton. And that's just the reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on this one, or?
Yeah, motion.
We do have a motion, okay. Do we have a second on that motion? Would you repeat your motion, please?
Motion being that we approve item A1 with the exception of item number 10 in A1
And that's going to come back as a report item, or an action item?
for an action item at a later date.
And I second that motion.
Yes, Mr. Neely?
Before you go for a vote, would you comment
Yeah.
what the impact of passing A1 with the exception of item 10?
well, the board has passed a resolution and we are a member of the program right now.
I understand that's one thing. If we pass this A1, What's the impact to you? What's the impact to the city?
We're a member of a pool for which we have not formally ratified an agreement to be a member. But monies have been paid.
This came back as a separate item next week. Would you, is that still in your time frame?
Oh, I think we can get the pool to work with us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it will be within our time frame, I believe.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Let's call for the vote then. Students, are you, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're giving.
I seconded
no,
it
Mr. Heaven did.
twice.
That's right, sorry.
For the second time.
Okay, so I guess we're ready for the board vote then.
So that I should second twice.
Thanks. Never mind.
So we're voting on approving everything in A except for 10, which will come back as an action item, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, that passes 6-1. All right, item number 2 of the consent agenda. Who pulled that?
I did,
Okay.
and my question has been answered.
Okay.
Second?
Any?
Are there-
Any?
So it's just, I didn't make the motion, but if it's open for, Comments or questions?
Yeah, any,
I believe Mrs. Oregon has
yeah,
questions.
anything from the board
do
first?
you have anything for A2?
Okay, then public comments.
With regards to number 1, the agreement with Amplify Education, we understand that that is a supplemental program. Teachers would still like to see supplemental materials go through Curriculum Council, as more and more are not going through Curriculum Council because they're supplemental. Curriculum Council has voiced that they'd like to see these come to them and be vetted, even with updates and changes.
Okay, any other comments?
Mr. Toski, you have any comment
I
on
was
that?
just gonna ask if, so how does that work then with supplemental materials? Somebody must be requesting them if.
President Knaxton, members of the board, the contract that is on there is for the upgrade of our DIBELS assessment. It's not a supplemental program, it's an assessment program that we've been using in the district for at least 10 years that I know of. And they came out with a newer version. They have eliminated pieces of it, so we purchased the newer version of the assessment of DIBELS.
Oh, okay, it's not
not a program.
supplemental instructional materials.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Public comments?
We do know that this is an assessment piece. I think teachers are asking about its value. And when we revisit this, do we just buy the shiny new thing, or do we evaluate how effective it is and whether or not we thought that that was a good assessment tool? And in the past, anything supplemental did not go through Curriculum Council and the body of teachers. And so again, any supplemental, yes, we've been using DIBELS. I was trained in DIBELS. I did DIBELS. My understanding with people being trained, there are some concerns with the testing this year. So they started asking, did Curriculum Council approve this? So the answer was no, hence my bringing to you. We'd like to see all things curriculum kind of go through curriculum.
Mrs. Oregon,
Yes.
when you say teachers, can you give me a rough?
K2, we heard some new teachers that were trained in, they had not seen DIBELS before.
I understand that, but I'm saying, I like numbers. So when you say teachers to me, is that 3 people or 300 people?
That's a great question. I do not have that ability to gain that without putting out a survey.
Because if we wanted to pull this, based on what you're saying, you know, I would.
Well, it's already in play. I don't think we can pull, it's already installed on the devices and we're testing.
Aren't you asking?
As we go forward, we'd like to see all updates and whether it's,
So you're saying you're okay with this, you just want to?
no, I've heard teachers complain that they were not happy with what it was testing and things that were left off of the testing itself. I do not have a number for you. We could certainly in-house put out a survey to ask teachers their preference for that, but I do not have that at this time. It was my ask, as we bring supplemental assessments, curriculum forward, that it goes through some kind of vetting. Do we need it? Do they like it? Have they tried out the new product?
So you're not questioning this, you're just questioning that it hadn't gone through curriculum council?
I am questioning it. I don't think there's anything to do at this time because it's already been installed and out there.
Okay. So this is not a shiny thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
With that, seeing as how I'm the one that pulled it, motion to approve.
Thank you. Okay, we got a first and a second. Student vote.
Yes.
Yes. Board vote, please. And that passes 7-0. Continuing on with the consent agenda A, item 4 was pulled by who?
Kyle Harvey, good evening once again. As you know, there's no negotiations between CSEA, the bargaining units, directly with the board, but I want to give you a report on where we're at so far. So several months back, we reopened for this year. And we were excited because we could get it done and then get ready to bargain our successor proposal, which would be next year. When we went into bargaining, we received a proposal, and we started talking about the money that was for 1920. The proposal from the district was to close 1920. The district did not state that in their sunshine proposal. And so I warned them, I said, you know, this wasn't in your sunshine. And, you know, we're here to bargain in good faith. And closing something that you sunshine to reopen, when we first started talking about it, doesn't seem like it's good faith bargaining to us. So we came back to the next meeting, and it was still the same proposal to close 1920, but they had additional years for a successor agreement. And at that time, I told them again, listen, we have not sunshined, and we are not prepared to negotiate a successor contract. CSEA has strict internal policies when we negotiate successor contracts. And I informed the district, they're well aware, that we have to survey our members, that we have to go through a process to find out exactly what it is they want us to propose, and then we have a ratification vote. This takes months to do. This is not a quick thing. It takes a lot of preparation, a lot of input from our stewards, our site reps, and leaders throughout the district. So it's very discouraging to us to see the district reopening on these 3 years after we've already told them that we wish to bargain for 1920, finish that up, and then reopen for the successor. And Mr. McKilligan and the superintendent know they have the right to reopen that, but I'm telling you that the successor and sunshine for that. But to us, it's not bargaining in good faith. We came to the table for 1920, not the successor. So please inform your negotiators. Let's bargain for 1920 and then we can move on. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Comments? Okay. We need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item A4.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. Student vote to approve item A4.
Yes.
Yes. Board vote, please. Okay, that was approved 6-1. And now we're on item A5. I'm sorry, I don't know who pulled that.
Michelle,
Okay.
Hello again. In regards to Rule 6162.5, which I think is the second one up there, on page 4, one of the items has to do with the exemptions. We certainly appreciate that under the exemption, it says that district employees may discuss. However, it says the STAR program, which I think that's a typo and should be revised to CAS, with parents and guardians, and may inform them of availability of exemptions under Ed Code. The part that we'd like to see struck is, however, the district and its employees shall not solicit or encourage any written exemption request on behalf of any student or group of students. We have all had the students. I have a family member who has a test phobia. The test does nothing for him except excruciating stress to the point where he is physically ill and harms himself. So in that case, if it was my own son and my son's teacher saw that this was affected him this way, I would hope that we would allow district staff to solicit. We understand that this has been an issue for your child with testing. There is the opt-out waiver, you can sign that. We'd like to say, you can solicit to what is in the best interest of the student. So we'd like to see that change, and we also think there's a typo in that line.
Michelle,
Paragraph.
what page is this?
Page 4, under exemptions.
I think you're on the wrong one, it's the third one.
Oh, rule, yes. I can't see the tiny print up there.
page 4 on 3.
Right there. So I think there's a typo, so I don't know if we can come back and really talk about if it's in the best interest of a child that a district employee, teacher, special ed specialist could recommend that, it would be better physically and psychologically if the child opted out.
That doesn't seem like a completely unreasonable request to me.
We like the part that says we can inform them of it, and I'm not saying that with my own children, testing helped them with placement of where they went after college. But when you have a child who struggles and harms themselves and suffers tremendously, why can't I solicit to that parent, it might be best to opt out, here's the form.
Is there any way to opt out now for any of these things?
Yes, parents may opt
They can
out.
opt out.
So what
But I
are you
can't,
differently?
it says here that I can't solicit that. If I notice something with a child, I can inform the parent, you have the right to opt out.
Right.
But I cross that line if I'm soliciting and, hey, I understand that your child is tortured through this process physically, emotionally, psychologically, whatever it is.
Oh, I see.
I'd like to be able to solicit and say, this is what I think might be an option for you. That's where I think the informing versus the soliciting is a change in the vocabulary.
Ms. Katowski, what do you think?
I think that maybe we should pull this one and let us do some further research on that ed code and just, I'm sorry to be speaking from here.
Yeah.
That was in our old policy, that wasn't even the new part. The new parts are the red.
New parts of the red.
Right.
Red. So, so I think if we want to take it back and do some further thought, that would be fine. I bring board policies to you almost every board meeting.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks
And
a
we
lot.
just noticed one little editorial, because I don't think we do the star anymore.
Mr. President, I move we approve item A5 with the exception of policy and rule 6162.5-88.
Second.
Is that the exemption one we're talking about?
Yes.
Let's make sure we're talking about the right one.
61625 rule.
Okay. Okay, we have a first and second. Students, get a vote.
Yes.
You do? Yes. Okay, board vote. There we go. Oh, you,
I'm an enemy.
that vote?
You did.
We're just trying to help out. Okay, this passes 7-0. All right. Well, that takes care of the easy part of the meeting. We've done the consent items. Let's go to consent agenda B, please. Student discipline cases.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda B, student discipline cases.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Students, you do not get to vote, so I'm calling for the board vote. And that passes 6-1. That's how we're supposed to go through these things.
There you go.
Okay, okay, we have at this point a board discussion concerning parent concerns regarding a group of homes that are included in the boundaries at Live Oak and Rada, but instead would like go to Orchard and Lodii Middle, I believe. So, Dr. Washer, what's going on?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We've had concerns expressed from a group of parents in the area that is assigned to Live Oak and Marada with concerns about being closer to different schools, and so they are requesting to bring their concerns forward. So I'm going to suggest that you open it up for public comment.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that first. And is there any comment? I imagine that's what you guys are here. No? Any public comment on this?
The principals of the schools are here.
Okay. Come on up and form a line.
Hello. Good evening, President and Board. I actually put in the request to be put on this. I talked to a few people in our community. I have 3 kids.
You need to introduce yourself.
Oh, hi,
for the
I'm
record.
Daisy Dickens. I live in the new housing development here. So I have 3 kids that attend Lodii Unified. We used to live in Julia Morgan Boundary. They had a property there, and we had to change to our homeschool. So my concern was that I have a school that my kids can walk to, and I pay someone to take them to school because I work really early. This year they attended Live Oak temporarily because they couldn't have all my kids there. They wanted to separate them, so then I ended up moving them to Podesta because they were able to accommodate all 3 of my kids. But our issue is that there's parents concerned about the middle school and Marada Middle School not being safe, and that we are located closer to schools in the area. So why would we have a bus that buses our kids an hour before school even starts, and they have to ride through the rural areas of Lodi when we have a school that they can literally walk to? To me, it doesn't make sense. I asked some questions Splitting up my kids doesn't seem like an answer. Live Oak, I've heard, is a great school. We didn't get to stay there long enough to experience this, but compared to the schools that, they came from, Live Oak was not able to accommodate my students, basically. I just had just questions of when the last time, we really looked at the boundaries on Lodi. I talked to the planner, I reached out, I was asking questions, and nobody really had answers for me. Lodi is growing, and it seems like there's more people that I talk to. Every time I talk to someone, I actually went door to door. I only got 10 doors in because everyone wanted to have a conversation in the neighborhood, but they don't have, they're taking their kids to charter schools, to private schools, because they're saying, hey, there's not enough room at the school, you need to go here. Our neighbors just lived there for 2 years, sold their house because the school in the area. That to me seems absurd, that you come to an area, you want to grow, you want to be around your community, but your kids are all separated. There's a few kids that are on IDAs in our community, and they don't want to keep filling those out every year. So, I mean, really, I feel like, one, Live Oak doesn't have the room to accommodate our students, and secondly, we have schools that are near. Why aren't we looking at keeping our kids closer? That's safer. I mean, honestly, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
So are you requesting a boundary change for the attendance areas, or are you requesting an exemption of some sort?
A boundary change, or looking at it, because I mean, it seems like an issue not just for our area, but with Lodi growing for other areas. I've had people that I was told they lived in the Reese area, moved to the Borchard area, but Borchard couldn't take their kids, so then they sold their house again and moved back to get their kids into school. I mean, I for one like creating stability for my kids. So when you tell me that my second grader can't be at a school with my kindergarten, my fifth grader who struggles the most, that to me is not okay. As a parent, I can't keep taking time off, when my daughter's crying because she can't be with her brothers. And then our neighbors are like, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to take our kids to a charter school. I have friends that live, in the Vinewood area that would rather move their kids and pay $6,000 a year for each kid than use Lodi Unified School District, which is a great school district. I mean, this is why we moved here. When we bought both of our homes, we wanted this for our kids, and it seems like there's just no offense to Live Oak, there's no support there either. When I got there, my kids were scared. We moved over to Podesta, and they felt welcome, like somebody cared about that school. My dad's been in facilities for over 20 years and maintained a high school, and I went there, and it's just like, it seems like there's no support in that school either. So I don't mind being there, but there's no support, or I don't want to split up my kids when I have a school that's closer to me as well. I think there's things that need to be looked at, just as a parent and as a community. Right now we have 225 houses, there's still 44 unoccupied. If you had to move, my kid was one of 6 kids that had to be moved, and the policy is going to change where, hey, once, which is sad to hear that once these 6 migrant kids leave, we're not holding their spots, your daughter will get her spot back, so we'll send her away for 2 months, and then we'll pull her back. Like, these are children, these aren't just numbers, these are families. Stability is sometimes all that these kids have. So, I mean, for me, it's like, hey, redraw the district boundaries, but that's just not the sole issue here. We're growing, and we're not accommodating our classrooms, there's not enough teachers, the facilities aren't taken care of there. I mean, there were a lot of things that just popped into my head, and for me, it was simple to say, hey, I want to see if I can move my kids, and I was able to move my kids, where I wanted to, but I don't want to move them away from a community that I want them to grow in.
Can you condense this down to 1 or 2 things that's important to you?
Looking at the boundaries and the class, being able to accommodate the kids in our areas and not sending them further than they need to be.
So are we talking because of the time of travel? Is that what you're concerned with?
Time of travel, I mean, it's safety, convenience, we're half a mile.
Okay, because you were talking a lot about safety at other schools and stuff, but you're really talking about.
Well, that was a concern from other members in the community as far as the middle school, because I was looking at elementary, the secondary education portion of it, and so that was something that was brought to me by them that I wanted to voice, that they were concerned about safety issues for Murata Middle School. And so if the boundary was going to be relooked at or possibly discussion be considered, that they could look at that as well. And I think that was a conversation that I had with the superintendent as well, and the planner. She was saying, well, if you're going to look at that, you might want to look at the middle school as well, because the boundaries are pretty similar.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Without giving your address, what street do you live on?
Burton, literally Stockton Street is included now that it's open, and then we're right around the corner.
Say it again.
Merton,
Got it.
What school are you supposed to go to?
Live Oak,
And you're closer to?
Orchard, half a mile versus 2 miles. So it's going over 99
It doesn't make
south.
sense. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all.
And you couldn't go to Live Oak because you couldn't accommodate all three of your children?
Yes, we went there, and my daughter had, she was going to be overflowed to Barrett. I don't know what the other was. I know it was more north than Lodii.
And you can't go to Borchard because?
There's not enough room for second graders, so they couldn't stay at Julia Morgan because there wasn't enough room for second graders. They couldn't go to Borchard because second grade was too full. And Kinder was also full at Borchard. And then I called a few other schools that were also too full to accommodate all three of my kids. It seems like second grade,
They're all impacted?
yes. And it sounded like Live Oak could have made the room, had the classroom, but didn't have a teacher.
Mr. Khan, is the Lodi schools overcrowded? Because you're telling us we're losing students.
We're down 422 students.
Is
We're
that-
actually down in the second
That's
grade.
not a school you
district-wide.
want.
However, that's the district numbers, that's not an individual school numbers. I think
Right.
any of us that realize what's going on around us, it's the west and south part of Lodi that is growing, and it is the west and south schools that are full. So, yeah, I hear it a lot. You're not the first or the only.
Dr. Washer, I have a recommendation that we get the parents that are concerned. I know you're concerned, and there's a coalition of parents in that area that are concerned of the boundaries. And get what's the procedure of listening to the parents and then changing the boundaries of the schools?
Mr. President, Ms. Nava, members of the board, there is a process, a rather involved process when you're talking about boundary changes. There's demographic studies, there are other things that you have to consider. If the board wishes us to do that, we certainly can. I just want to say that the issue may not be limited to a boundary discussion issue. Parents in that particular area who are able to get into Borchard through IDAs have done so. Other parents who have requested are not because Borchard is full. So simply changing a boundary to be now you're assigned to Borchard doesn't change the fact that Borchard is full. And so students would then be overflowed from Borchard somewhere else. So the issue isn't just limited to a discussion about boundaries. The issue is schools are impacted in certain areas.
And our other school on the south part of Lodi, Larson, their elementary school suffers the same problems.
Mr. Freitas, members of the board, I would say that might be a little different problem or challenge because a school like Larson has a lot of ADAs that are not necessarily near Larson. And so there are ADAs from all over the district going to Larson. If those were not in place, Larson would be able to accommodate more neighborhood students.
The Larson is being asked to take the new construction that we're seeing on the
Yes.
west side.
Yes.
They didn't have space either.
Why are we,
They don't.
I'm sorry, Gary. Okay, what is the priority? I think if you live within the boundary, you would have priority over an ADA.
IDA, right?
IDA, excuse me. ADA.
I would have to look at our policy. I don't recall that in the policy off the top of my head. I would have to.
Well, I think that if you live in the boundary, wouldn't you have priority over somebody that didn't live in the boundary?
Yes, Mr. Porter, members of the board, yes. However, we do not displace a student once the year starts. So I think that is the issue in some cases is that families move in when IDAs because of the timing of an IDA approval, there is the board-approved space at that point, but then when it gets closer to the start of school, other families are moving in, and at that point, there isn't room. And so if the IDA were submitted at that point, it probably would be denied because of the family in the boundaries. But because the IDAs happen so early, the timing often...
Do we have a limit on IDAs?
We leave a percentage open for new enrollment.
Do we do that at the high schools as well?
I think it's different at the high school.
I believe
Lodi High.
I believe it's different at high school.
I believe it's wide open.
It's a different, the IDA doesn't impact the school levels the same.
Well,
Same way.
I believe Mr. Khan told me that Lodi High should be a 2,000 or a 2,100. And their IDAs, I think, are pretty thick.
Yeah,
Are
quite
we
a
giving
few.
these things out like candy, and then people that live in the area should be given preference? And shouldn't we be factoring in people moving into new areas because construction? So there's openings for them?
Yes, Mr. Porter, members of the board, we do. Our policy does specify at the elementary level that there's a certain percentage of space left open for neighborhood families who move in. And our schools do follow that. Unfortunately, now, I don't think that's enough cushion. I think that, perhaps the board may want to revisit that policy and either widen, give more cushion to schools, leave more room, so they're accepting fewer IDAs, or you may, and this is going to be very, very unpopular, you may want to consider closing a school to IDAs in certain areas if we are impacted because of new homes.
I don't think anybody's meant to, but I'd like to apologize for your difficulties this year. I think it's really hard when you have children, you're trying to figure it out. I would like to say that Murata Middle School is extremely safe. My kids went there, I live a block from there. Fantastic leadership at that school. Live Oak has fantastic leadership. I don't know if your experience was that, but I've been to all those schools, and I'm sorry it was uncomfortable for you, but I hope we can work it out for you.
Thank you. And one more thing, I know, I really hope that you guys do revisit it with Lodi growing, because like I said, right now we have 225 homes and we have the apartment complex, and there was a comment made before that I heard was that families don't live in apartment complexes, and I think that is a huge, it's a lie, because families do. I walked over there and I asked, and the other thing is we have 44 homes that are still unoccupied. So if Orchard can't handle them, Live Oak is a lot smaller and the resources are limited there as well. So, I mean, how do we accommodate these kids? Because my second grader's not going away, and those other 6, migrant students that are leaving, they're going to come back. So I don't think just because they leave, now they lose their spot, they need to be thought of as well. I'm not here fighting for my kids' interests, but who's out there fighting for those kids? So.
And it is, even though it's a very personal thing to you because they're your children, but changing the boundary isn't going to help those schools because they're all within that corridor where they're all going to be impacted. And the whole idea of overflowing these little kids is just, it's hard. I hate to see it. That's why I've been kind of a proponent with the Measure U monies in addition to getting rid of portables like we said we're going to the public, is that we somehow build capacity within our schools. But there's a limit to that too, because you have multi-purpose rooms that are too small and cafeterias the whole bit, on and on and on. So yeah, houses equal kids. There is a formula, even though I think it's a little off. There is a state formula for that, but formulas don't help families. So I really get it, and it's tough because some of it is like what Dr. Washer said, is the timing. Okay, here's school registration. Well, you move into a house, not you, but people move into a house here, they have to go somewhere else. But just for that year, typically, they would be able to come back. Because if I'm not mistaken, IDAs for elementary are year to year?
Yes.
High school is for 4.
Right.
So there is a big difference between secondary and elementary.
I did have a question about that. So I was told that IDAs for people that work for the district are approved for the duration of employment. Is that true?
Employees get priority.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that they kick a neighborhood child out.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Michelle, you?
Oh, okay. I have a quick question. My name is Andrew Dickens. I'm the loving, supporting husband of Miss Daisy.
There you go.
I just had a question for this gentleman here. I know he said that enrollment was down. Was that correct?
That's correct.
Does that factor in private schools and charter schools as well?
They're not part of our count.
Right. So we wouldn't know the numbers of the students leaving our district to go to charter or private schools, correct?
I don't have that count. That's
It's just a quick question. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a hot topic for many years. I'm so glad to see it on an agenda. And I think, Mr. Nava, I think that's a great idea to have a forum for parents of multiple area schools talk about those boundary changes. It is a hot topic. You can only imagine when Vine Street, Kelman Lane changed from Lodii to Tokay. That was just a hot mess all over town. So yes, redrawing the boundaries is tenuous in relationships and the relationships we build with our families at schools. But I think we really need to look at those areas where those homes are being built. As this parent mentioned, those apartment complex buildings behind Costco. I bought something online and went back there. I had no clue of those 20 plus buildings, the playgrounds, the dog park, the bocce ball fields and pool, and all I saw were families walking around with their kids going back from the pool and the playground. So I don't know, and they were all little, so I don't know if we need to look at those trends. But I really think we need to look at the boundaries when Needham, for example, you live on that street, that's not your neighborhood school, it's Nichols. So I know it's a long process and it's a hot mess, but I think we really probably need to look at what's best to build our schools and our structure, because what used to be behind Costco being Live Oak and agricultural area, there weren't many kids. Now we've got all those homes. Now do we need to look at the capacity of the buildings around to help meet those family needs? Because as a parent, wouldn't you want your kid to grow up and walk down the street to the school and grow up with those neighborhood kids than be bused everywhere? And like we said, we want to keep our students here instead of going to public, to private and charter. Maybe looking at the boundaries and those numbers, those 400 declining enrollment in elementary were 16 elementary FTE, if I remember correctly. So in some of those sites, that's why some of those lower classes are impacted, because we have more we have some combos at that. So I'd love to see us entertain that and give a venue to those parents to really speak up in our community.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you for staff for putting this on the agenda here tonight. I, for one, would not be satisfied if I had to bus my kids across the Greenbelt to Stockton. And easily this year, I've received 10 times as many complaints about enrollment in our schools being on the southwest side of Lodi than I've ever received before. So, Dr. Washer, I like your ideas. I like some more ideas going forward, and I think there's a lot of problems. This isn't an easy solution that we're just going to wave a magic wand and make go away. But I think it's a time that we need to revisit, something that we need to revisit and take a good look at. So I'd be in favor of that.
Comments? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to our first and only other action item.
Did staff get direction on
Got
that?
it, bring it back, bring your ideas.
Because it's going to be worse and worse as the homes start developing. I was talking to a developer today in his office, and I know of 3 other developments that are on the horizon that is going to come up and have not officially been mentioned to either the county or the cities.
Mr. President, members of the board, we will certainly bring back some options for you. I just do want to emphasize that it may not be a boundary change as the solution, because boundary changes don't change capacity of a school. So I think our most prominent solution may be looking at our IDA policy, which is going to be extremely unpopular, but that may be what we need to do. So
The high schools as well.
certainly. So I just want to let you know that it may not be a boundary issue. It may be a who's coming in that lives elsewhere issue.
Yeah, I don't believe it's a boundary issue.
But we have
totally either.
no doubt that you and your exceptional staff
Got it.
are doing an
Very
amazing
good.
job coming up with amazing ideas
All right.
to solve this.
And moving on,
Let's go.
other action item 1, Ms. Kowski. We're talking about the sufficiency of instructional materials. You'd like us to approve it, I guess?
Short and easy. Last week, the last board meeting, we brought our public hearing on the sufficiency of instructional materials, and today we just bring you the action item for approval based on the results of our Williams visits.
Okay. Any discussion on this? from the board?
Question, Mr. President.
Yes.
I know.
I've only been doing this for the last how many years? So in the high school, which high school did the Williams folks come and visit?
McNair High School.
Oh, again.
They haven't changed
Why
them.
is it always McNair? I ask that every year. Can we request a different school, or is it their game?
It was established so long ago that it probably won't make sense to you at this point. It was established when the API was around, and the schools with a low API were the ones were selected. They haven't changed that, even though we, excuse me, pardon me, even though we have tried to have them change the schools and change the selection process. But the CDE has not changed that based on the Williams settlement.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Even with your insistence.
You know, I can only work so many miracles.
So approving this, is this saying that all of our high schools have all of the materials that they need? Or is this saying that the ones that they reviewed have?
If you want to take it out, it says the ones that they have reviewed have the materials, and then by association, the others do also.
I understand the ramifications, so I won't ask any more questions.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Chairman, I move we approve this.
And I will be looking.
Okay. Nothing from the public, huh? Okay. All right, get to vote on this also. Vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, board vote, please. You still awake? Yeah, me either.
Vote yes.
What, did you
Say
say?
vote yes.
Oh, you hear him? He said vote yes, so Mr. Neely voted yes, so stick his, if anybody can stick his vote in there.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. He still hasn't voted.
The hurricane.
Yeah, so what we got without us? Let's see, what we got?
I voted no.
You can do a voice vote.
No, okay.
Do you want to do a voice vote?
Okay, Mr. Neely voted yes.
I'll vote no.
Yes.
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 Okay, it passes 6-1. All right, where are we at now? Mr. McKilligan, we have some student matters. Personnel matters, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, move we approve personnel matters.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
on today's list, we have resignation being requested by Lynn Amy.
What?
Not
Um,
retirement, sir, retirement.
Retirement of Lynn Amy.
Okay, that's all
You
right.
don't have to approve that. We don't know.
Mrs. Aby's been a huge resource, not only to the district and the superintendent, but has also been very much involved in Got Kids and has been a great resource to the board. I'm going to reluctantly vote to approve this, but we wish her very well in her retirement, and she's greatly going to be missed. And I understand that a replacement has been selected.
Yes.
And she's here today, and Valerie is going to do an amazing job also. We look forward to having her. So with that, I would second Mr. Nava's motion.
All right, we have a first and second. Student vote?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, it's personnel, never mind, personnel.
Just
Denied. Okay, board vote.
You may have to do voice vote.
Are you there, George?
No,
There we go.
Yay!
Okay, it passes 7-0. Okay, now is your time. Comments from student reps. Let's go with Ms. Edwards first.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. President, Dr. Washer, members of the board. Some big events that we have coming up at Tokay High School would be our homecoming game, which is on September 20th. And on this same day, we have our homecoming parade, which includes, here, let me pull this closer. There we go. Which includes our clubs and, the clubs that want to participate, and some sports teams. I believe the football players might participate, and of course the homecoming court nominees. We try to get them special cars that they can ride on throughout the school. And nominations actually have been placed already, and the school will be voting on our 7 members for queen nominations and our 7 members for king nominations tomorrow. During lunch or whatever time they have until 2:30, so everybody's pretty excited about that. And just some new clubs that have been established since Club Rush, which was, I believe, early in August. We have our Feminist Club, which is new. Our Unity Club, which is a club that basically just is going to spread cultural awareness around our school, which is needed, I believe. And it's my club, so I'm pretty excited about it. And just some other returning clubs will be Whale Watching Club, NHS, which is National Honor Society, and I believe another club that we have is Comedy Sports. And Comedy Sports basically is 2 teams which have teachers on them, and it's a performance, and people come and whenever they have their performance, or and each team do different skits and improv kind of, and whoever makes the most people laugh wins. So, and their first performance is this Friday on September 6th. And another little activity that we have, we just started doing this. We last year in student government, we would usually do music on game days or special events. So we continue to do that. And but now we have 2 people, including myself and my friend Gabby, and we dress up in our mascot costumes. And we take pictures with the students during lunch, and we kind of rally around and dance and just kind of pump everybody up to just give them a good spirit about school. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Ethan, you get what's going on at Bear Creek?
Hello, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Ethan McLaughlin.
Make it a little closer. Thank you.
And so last Friday was our first rally of the, well, second rally of the year was our homecoming rally. I personally didn't get to go there because I was at a water polo tournament, but I have heard nothing but great things about it. We have our homecoming game this Friday and the homecoming dance on Saturday. And then we have on September 19th, we have Club Rush, which is basically when all of the clubs, it's during both lunches because we have early and late lunch. During both lunches, all the clubs are on campus, all the clubs that sign up get to advertise for their club and get as many people to sign up for their club as possible. So it's an introduction to all the clubs for events later to come, and it shows all it gives a chance to all the students to join clubs that they didn't know may have existed. That's really all I have.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right.
Wait, we've got questions.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Well, of course.
Okay.
Tia, homecoming usually comes with a dance, is that right?
Unfortunately, we do not have a dance at Tokay. I wanted to have a dance, but there are a lot of complications rather that go with that. We usually have a rally and a parade, but from last year, our rally didn't go as well, so we have our rally set for later in the year. So now we just have kind of like the parade, and then we have the crowning of king and queen at our gate.
Very good.
Yes.
And then these pictures that you take in your mascot uniform with the students, you gonna bring some when you come back next month?
Yeah, actually, I will. Yeah, I definitely will. I have them now, but I don't know if I can show anywhere. So, but yeah, it's actually quite fun. We took some pictures with our SRO, which is our assigned police officer on campus, and that was quite a joy.
You gotta give a plug, who's your SRO?
I don't know her name. I can't believe I don't know her name, but she's a really nice lady. She's really great.
Fantastic, okay. Ethan, you're the vice president.
One more question for Ms. Edwards.
All right. I'll defer to Mr. Nava.
Against Bear Creek?
Yes, sir, I did. I was a cheerleader there. I know, right?
What happened?
Wasn't it? We were all very surprised, but I had faith. I just have to say, I had faith in my team from the beginning. I told all the other cheerleaders, I said, we're going to come back, watch, you just watch. And they did. So I get credit for that. I hope they're watching on the live stream.
Okay, we're gonna go see you play Stag next Friday at your place.
That's actually this Friday.
Yeah, this Friday?
Yeah, this Friday, yeah.
We will be there.
Ethan was playing water polo. He had nothing to do with this football game.
I was actually at the football game though. I was in the
He's not
stands.
giving you a way out here, man.
He was in the stands.
Well, water polo is football in the water.
No, basketball.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And now Ethan, you're the vice president, student
Yes.
vice president?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't know very much about you. We like to learn a little bit about our student reps. Can you tell us some things about you? We know you play water polo. What else should we know about you?
So I have been a lifeguard for 2 years. I am also been swimming for about 14 years, playing water polo for about 10. This is my 3rd year in student government on Bear Creek. I was a swim coach over summer.
Very nice.
And then right now, my plan is to go to Delta College for 2 years and then transfer.
Good for you. Very good. And what would you like to be when you graduate?
I'm hoping to go into physical therapy.
Very nice.
Oh, good.
Very good.
All right.
Good goal.
Okay, well, and you'll be sure to let us know how it goes. All right. Thank you for very nice reports, both of you.
Okay, boy groups. Nothing new?
So I'll go first. All right.
Also, we realize our two student reps have some homework that they probably need to get to, and we're knocking on the 9 o'clock hour. We appreciate you being here, but if you have to go get to it, you're more than welcome to get on it, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
I've prepared comments. I usually don't have that. Good evening, President Knaxton, members of the board, and Superintendent Washer. I'm Deborah Ladwig, President of CSEA here in Lodi. And I've come to tell you that it's been a very busy month. I can't believe it's already September. The beginning of August, we had 10 members attend our annual conference. It was over in Las Vegas, where we had over 2,000 CSEA members who took up the work of running our great union. We also had our first chapter meeting in the new year, and we were able to honor our CSEA Employee of the Year, Paula Calderon. So I'm sure many of you know her. She's been around for a long time. And one of the comments that was made during her honoring was that she's planning on retiring, which I think is wonderful for her. And possibly she will be going over to Hawaii. She's hoping to retire someplace tropical. So I thought that was really exciting. Let's see here. In addition, we're working with the district to get all our new employees welcomed and set up for success. You know, we have our new employee orientations. We try to get to all of those so that we can welcome everybody and make sure that they know that they're on their road to a great career with Lodii Unified. We've been continuing negotiations. I know that Mr. Harvey mentioned that earlier. And I just wanted you to know that we do appreciate the open dialogue. Our sessions have been very productive. I felt like they've been very productive. We're able to talk things through and kind of figure out where we can meet. And so I feel like things have been going very well. But I think that, you know, there's always work to be done. And so I think we need to maybe work together a little bit better on getting information out. When there's information that needs to get out, we maybe need to work a little bit better to get that information out. We are, however, though, continuing to struggle with information flow between our personnel and payroll departments. We're very concerned that the employees assigned to report our members' earnings to CalPERS are not properly trained. We are aware that CalPERS offers multiple trainings and have asked the district to send employees, especially to the upcoming 4-day business rules training, but we have not received any information that employees will be sent to that training or to any subsequent trainings. We have a lot of struggles, and it's disheartening when we make phone calls to departments and we're told we don't know. We'll have to check into this. This is our employees' livelihood. They're working for their paychecks, but also for their pensions. So we have to be assured that everything is being reported as is expected by CalPERS. We can't do things the way we've always done them, or we will end up with another mess with our like we had with our retirees. So we have to be certain that we're reporting as expected. So we are just hopeful that the district will come back to us and let us know that they are sending people to training so that all of the folks that need the training can have the appropriate training. And other than that, we just wish everybody a great evening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Do we have people being scheduled to be trained, Ms. McKilligan? Is this?
They are scheduled to be trained at CASBO, but not the training that Ms. Ladwig mentioned.
Is that going to be sufficient?
We believe it is. The department's been using CASBO for years, as well as our accountants and our ADA as well.
So CalPERS changes their rules a lot. And so I think communication with them would also be as a suggestion.
Yeah, I tend to think that might. I mean, it's a 4-day training, is that what we're talking about? Or is it extensive? I don't know.
Well, I'm just trying to head off another difficult situation. And we are talking about not only existing pay, but we're talking about
Future.
what affects them in the future, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how that would be a bad idea to get as much information as possible.
Absolutely.
Or we go straight to Calvert.
Well,
I mean, that's what we're talking about.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Okay, LAA?
Don't say it. You're not gonna send it,
We are off to the races and running, and we appreciate the comments tonight about Julia Morgan and moving our board meetings and having them here so that more members can tune in and watch. I think there's more people that are able to stay tuned in to the decisions you're making with that decision. I also want to say thank you for, I believe Mr. Khan had some hand in making sure that the health fair is taking place, and we look forward, are happy to hear that that is scheduled. Oh my gosh, the 16th.
September 16th.
The 16th. So thank you. We would really like to commend those departments at the district in coordinating ongoing dialogue to resolve issues. As soon as they come up, the call to meet and discuss the issues with technology, with secondary, with Dr. Washer, and ongoing issues has been very helpful to the start of this school year. We look forward to our CalSTRS. Rose Luna from CTA is coming to present on September 18th, and so she'll be kind of holding court at the McNair Theater for our employees, and Dr. Washer has graciously allowed us to invite other CTA members from our neighboring school district to benefit from seeing the expert in CalSTRS and really looking at their future. So Lincoln and Stockton respectively have both said they're interested in participating. So we look forward to not only our members, but members who live in our attendance area and work in other school districts to benefit from this. So thank you for that.
All right. All right, thank you. Dr. Washer, do you have any further comments?
No further comments, thank you.
Okay, we're down to the reports, and we have 4. First one is Mr. Khan is on the relocating the shade structure at Cerna.
Relocating Cerno and then also including the shade structure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. In this 2-page report, we've actually listed expenditures to date and then planned expenditures. The board will note that right now we've committed almost $2.8 million to the relocation. That site, the Campo Road site, will receive another $1 million or $3 million of board allocated Measure U funding. The district will proceed with what's approximated as $1.5 million kitchen renovation as well. So actual and planned investment, $7.3 million. I believe the shade structure cost will be in that dollar amount, but it all depends on what the design and the actual bid costs are for that. To date, we have completed the parking. The parking investment that the board has directed in the Campo Road site. We're substantially done with the switchgear, with the exception of actually having it turned on. We need that inspected and then energized by PG&E. To do are the copier room ventilation and bathroom renovations. Out of district money, we're close to being done with the fencing. We're still waiting for deliveries of some gates. Storage units have been delivered and I believe are filled. top dressing of the field's done, fencing is still to be removed from around the trees, but we thought we'd do that with contracting of the removal of that one tree to the side. We'll work on the community garden with the community, hydro stations in order. I don't have a timeline. 2 to 3 weeks from this point is a reasonable estimate, though. I believe the fencing contract has been signed for the tunnel portion, the part between the NPR and the west side classroom buildings. We're also going to look at putting a chain link fence on the cinder block wall outside the staff lounge. The board last week or 2 weeks ago was interested in maybe lowering the shade structure below the DSA trigger point. We did have conversations in cabinet. We did have conversations with the site principals. I couldn't sell that to anybody. The big thing was with the 7th and 8th graders there, they would climb on top of it, fall off and break bones. So we have verbally directed the site's architect to add design of a shade structure to their scope, and the site has actually chosen a location to place it. That's over the play apparatus. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
The fencing around the tree, that keeps coming back. What are we?
I'm trying to get that removed immediately. Recommendations is let it stand until the tree comes down. I'm not sure it's absolutely necessary to stay up, but we're talking about the short fence.
Right.
I'll try and get that
Is
removed.
the tree dangerous?
The tree limbs do break off of it, but I'm not sure that short chain link fence is going to help save it. So, I'm okay going ahead and moving forward with that.
So it's safe to say if you took it down, no children would be in danger?
It doesn't matter what
Clearly there's a fence around it for a reason. Because that keeps coming up on emails and it's coming in.
The fence doesn't fence them out from the circumference or the diameter of that sick tree. So, yes, they're in danger. They're probably almost in exactly the same amount of danger if they stand anywhere near that fence right now.
Well, okay.
All right. Thank you.
So the shade structure that they want sorry. Nice try though. Nice try. The shade structure, you're saying that they want it over the playground equipment, not to maybe sit underneath and have tables and chairs, like benches?
That's what they directed the architect to do.
Okay. Because I'm a big proponent of shade structures, and very few elementary schools have them.
I
The ones that we do have, like Yoda Middle School, I think is priceless for what they use.
I would just wager a guess. After the board directed staff to replace their former shade structure, which architect informed the group that it cannot be moved. It is not a DSA structure. I think it eventually just sort of boiled down to why don't we replace exactly what we had.
I also think, Ron, or Mr. Heverly, that there's some sewer lines, and so in order to adhere, am I correct, Mr. Khan? It's going to impact where we can put the shade structure. So there's some complications with it.
Okay. Moving on to the second report regarding. Is there any other comments from? No, there wasn't. We need a K-8 classroom and instrumental music program.
I'm not yawning. I didn't just yawn. Oh my gosh.
I knew I recognized you, but where did I see you? It's always at the concert.
Yes. My name is, what am I supposed to say now? Hold on a second, let me start.
She really wants to get this report over. President Cadaxted, members of the board, and Dr. Washer, Cynthia Braden, lead music teacher, and I are here to give you an update or give you information regarding the K-8 classroom music and instrumental music.
I want you to tell, she's my niece by marriage, and she's a great actor. Actor is the word now, is it not actress, but actor? You don't know.
Thespian.
Thespian. She's a thespian at the Civic Theater, by the way.
Yes, which I heard that she just performed this last weekend.
Yes.
Who made this PowerPoint?
Lori.
This is spectacular. This is the best PowerPoint background we've seen in years, so way to go, Lori.
All right, so I don't have my clicker, so somebody's going to have to move me forward. Just click on my tongue, I'll just do this. So I'm going to talk, and then if there are questions that I can't answer, Cynthia will be able to help us out, because she really does coordinate the music program, the scheduling and all of that. We have 41 classroom music and band teachers. They provide classroom music to all of our elementary sites, and they also provide band and strings to our middle school sites. In our elementary, band and strings are what we call pull-out. They're not in the classroom. The kids are removed from the classroom and delivered their band class or their strings class outside of the classroom. There are 26 sections of band and 16 sections of strings. This is kind of deceiving because it says 18 teachers use carts to deliver their music program. I wanted to say 18 teachers were on carts, but teachers don't get on carts, so I had to change it a little bit. And 11 sites provide programs in non-ideal location. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see that really there are 16 school sites that have 2 or more classroom teachers, classroom music teachers assigned to them. Of those 16, all have a first classroom music class, but for the second teacher, they don't have a music classroom, and that's why those second and third teachers are on carts. So of the 32, 26 classrooms, schools do have classrooms for music. 6 of those are push-in. That means those teachers are using their carts, pushing all of their instruments into the classrooms, and they deliver the service in the teachers' classrooms, which is not ideal. If we go to the next slide, I think you'll find that 25 sites are offering band in 5th and 6th grade to all of our students. We did that. We started that several years ago with the one-time one-is when we bought 5th grade musical instrument and 6th grade instruments. Those, we have 9 sites that house band in a stage, a library, or a cafeteria. And all other band classes are held in a classroom. 17 sites provide strings to the 5th and 6th grade students, and 4 of those sites house their strings on the stage or in a storage room off the cafeteria. And so I think one more slide. One middle school has their band class on the stage all day long, and then all the other middle schools have them in a designated classroom. Well, I count Houston differently. So there are currently 5 sites that are housing their pull-out bands and strings in areas that we would consider not ideal. One is a library at Heritage, and from my understanding, that happens when the library is free. So if the library is in circulation with students and classes, then the band may not be happening. At Houston and Lodi Middle, we all know, we've all heard about the Houston situation where the band is on the stage and the children from Cerna on Wednesdays are early release, causing a lot of noise. The same thing with Lodi Middle, it's on the stage, and lunch and PE is in the multi-purpose room at the same time. In Vinewood, we have band in the cafeteria, and so after lunch, they're cleaning the floors. It doesn't make for a really good situation. And at Reese, we have off of the cafeteria is a storage room where they drop off their materials and do things like that, cleaning materials and book materials. That's where it is housed at Reese School. And that's it. Did I do that right? Okay.
Okay.
Questions?
One of my questions is, when you pull out kids from like elementary class or pull them out for a band class, what class are they missing? What is determined not to be very important, I guess I should say?
Everything's important. We work to schedule band and string pull-out programs to not interfere with ELA times specifically. Otherwise, it's fair game pretty much. And so at different sites, we, since those band and string teachers, so many of them travel, they miss all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that brings, my second question is, the travel time the teachers are involved with, they're essentially forfeiting their prep so they can travel from place to place?
I am not sure how, I took over this position 2 years ago. And it really did seem like that there was a lot of forfeiture. So I did a lot of data collecting last year and punching of numbers and changed that. I was asked if that was still going on, and I mean, I work the hardest I can, but my brain can only handle so much. So I sent out an email last week specifically asking, did I blow it on anybody? Does everybody have at least 30 minutes of lunch that they're not driving for, and like at least 3 preps, a week? And the teachers that responded that all said that they were fine.
So you didn't really have any real complaints?
No, I got no negative feedback about the prep and lunch. And I sent it to all teachers that travel.
Okay, good. Because when I go to Chris McCall, yes, hang on a minute, Ms. Neal. When I go to Chris McCall, I was told by band teachers that, I had to spend a lot of my time traveling.
He did. Yeah, no, he's there now full time though.
Yeah, okay, so that's been taken care of.
I've been working very diligently to get fewer teachers traveling and more of them housed at one site so that they can create bigger programs.
Yeah, well, your creative solutions are needed. It sounds like that's exactly what you're doing, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Neely, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I'm a big supporter of the music program. The answer about the pull-out, we've been trying not to interrupt the ELA classes, but that's not the case. It happens quite a bit. When we do a pull-out program, we've only got 6 hours of instruction. So when you do a pull-out, you're pulling people out with important classes. I think we have to take a look at maybe trying to do something before school, after school, lunch period, some other alternative rather than pulling them out of a math class, ELA class, science class, any of that. So I think that needs to be looked at hard. Also, does anyone else have a desire to get rid of these music cards and give our teachers a classroom?
Well,
it seems to me like a couple of things. First of all, we're taking prep time away from the teacher when that class has to be conducted in their room. They can't be in there working. It just doesn't work out. And the second thing is that the music teacher doesn't have the advantage of having a room and the rich items that we put on the walls, that kind of thing. All the instruments, everything they have available to them. So I think that's one thing that we need to look at hard. This is a great report. Thank you very much for doing it. I think we should use this as a basis to improve our music program. And that's what I've got to say.
George, I think Cindy could tell us what the needs are to conduct this as a first-class program, because I feel the same way about the music as you do. And I can't even play the radio, that's why. But Cindy, maybe you have some needs that would resolve some of these problems that we have? Like the pull-outs that Mr. Neely said?
The pullout,
Talking about the pull-out or the push into the class?
so the pullout or the push-in, for the band or for classroom music?
The concern was kids being taken out of class.
Yeah, it's a concern. I mean, I agree. I do not stand mighty on the hill of thinking that music is more important or less important. It's having it in a pull-up program is a balancing act, and we have to continue to work on it.
Sorry. Also, if we would have to change some of the music teacher schedules that they wanted to deliver before school, then it would be up to parents to getting them before the school. Teachers' hours would have to change to adjust, and they wouldn't be able to provide, services in the after school. So it's something that we can think about, but it wouldn't happen very quickly overnight.
Let's also keep in mind that not all students would be able to participate. The only way we can offer to all is by having it during the school day.
Yeah.
Even bicycle restricted.
I'm just kind of spitballing. I'm wondering if this would take a lot of thinking, I guess, but is there some way of having a sliding scale, for so many weeks as math or whatever period 1 is in elementary, and then for the next few weeks they pull the same kids out in period 2, which might be home ec, or I don't know, what do they do in elementary?
Because of the nature of the itinerant teacher.
No, okay.
Yeah, and I heard the concern that a lot of that, if continuing with a pull-out program, as long as the administrators give us their ELA times, we work very hard to take care of that. So I know in the past there have been changes, like an administrator will get back to us or a school site saying, oh no, well, we changed our ELA time. And by then that traveling teacher is going to, 5 sites, and it's virtually impossible to change their schedule in order to accommodate a change in the ELA time. And that's why we ask for those things in March the year before, and which is hard for them to give to us too. So
this whole thing sounds like you already know everything that we asked you, and it's a problem that's not going to be solved tonight.
No, not at all.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just one thing is, when we were talking about giving music their own classroom, which, by the way, I think would be great.
Me too.
It also is one of those things that affects the facility space that we have for kids that may have to be overflowed or something like that. So one of those things, even though it sounds great over here, the reality is you're going to have to move kids out of that school in order to provide music for the kids that are at that school. Therefore, maybe we should build capacity within our existing schools. Have you heard that before, Mr. Khan?
A few times.
Oh, okay. I beat the same drum. Get it? Music?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no. So while I absolutely support that, I don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. But if there is that creative thinking and there is that space, absolutely give them a classroom. Not at the expense of instruction.
Any other comments? Michelle, you have a comment you want to make?
I just have to say, I think I'm not the musically, I think Mr. Nava explained my musical talent. The number of teachers that we have that do such a phenomenal job, and the job that you did with this presentation and the job you do in structuring the program is phenomenal. And I have to tell you, as a classroom teacher, when you are talking to the band or the strings teacher, could you tweak it by 5? Many times they are very accommodating in that. And if maybe there is an outline every year, this is the first time I've heard about it going out in March, to make sure that teachers are talking about when will we have ELA next year, when will we have Read 180, to give every student the opportunity. I think there's also another opportunity that we have many schools that have extra band after school in the bridge program and stuff, that if they can't do in the day pull-out time, that maybe they have that time to do in the bridge program. So thank you, Cynthia, and all the music teachers. They are, I wish I was able to do that, but thank you. And this report points out how many really do have classrooms, and we were given some information that was a little different. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to give a plug to, if anyone has not attended the music concerts that they hold, one in North Stockton, one in the Lodii school areas, in all their feeder elementary schools. It is really a kick. Those kids have a lot of fun standing up in the bleachers and singing to their parents on the other side. So it's a great deal.
And just a plug, we've been starting our strings programs, have started doing a similar thing. Last year they did middle school, high school, and this year they're going to do a district-wide elementary school strings program. So we are really, with your support, we have been really blossoming, I think, the last few years. Things are growing and there's a lot of energy there, so.
Make sure we get those dates in time.
Absolutely.
I'm always impressed with maybe the instructors more than the kids. when I go, because it's like coaching. It's like, I mean, they're
worse than coaching. They move around, stationary and coaching.
Yeah, and they have things in their hands, but yeah, they have such great control of those kids that, I mean, it's pretty impressive. Okay, let's move on to, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Washer, what about this early education expansion program you wanted?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm going to ask our team to come up. They're going to share some information. We're looking at a grant application that will address one of the goals that the board shared with us. Oh, it's been quite some time now. I remember it was at Julia Morgan when the topic of preschool inclusion came up. And the board asked us to look at ways to help expand inclusion so that more preschool children could interact with each other, special ed and general ed. And so we began to do some of those things, and our teachers have been doing a great job. This grant will actually take it to a new level where all students will be in inclusion preschool programs. So we're going to ask Liz and Denise to give you the information, and if you have questions, please ask them. This is the report. It is due fairly soon, but we do have it scheduled for next meeting for you as an action item if you are so inclined to approve it. So Liz and Denise.
Thank you. President Knackstead, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. We are here to present the Inclusive Early Education and Expansion Program. There you go. Our goals are to create a preschool to employment pathway. It's really exciting. We have, Liz has done a phenomenal job in transition, and if you haven't visited her program, I really encourage you to do that. But as we've talked and what she's doing, the work she's doing with the state, they start at 16 to, what is their career. So what the state and Liz are doing now is they're pushing it back to preschool and talking about what can preschoolers do to start talking about careers, which will then encourage parents and encourage all of our students, because when they're in inclusive classrooms, we're going to be meeting the needs of all of our students, not just special ed students and not just general ed students. We're hoping to increase the number of children in preschool. We're going to do that by looking to obtain 500 more state preschool slots so that we can include all of our students and expand the program. So we have about 250 special ed students, and we have to make sure that we aren't just asking for 250 and use our students, because there's others out there, because we don't have enough slots yet, that would be left out. So we want to include all of them in this process. We want to upgrade special education preschool classrooms. Some of our preschool classrooms don't have bathrooms, And so state standards for a state preschool classroom, they all have to have bathrooms, there's a number of square footage, et cetera. And part of this grant is also going to, we're going to provide professional development for all of our LUSD preschool teachers. Over the July 24th and 25th training, we were able to get all of our preschool teachers together to start this process. We're looking to ask for about $5 million through this grant, which requires a 33% match. But that match can also be utilized through if we have a special ed teacher that we're utilizing, so that money can be used as a match. The new program will generate new revenue with current special ed preschool enrollment, about 2.4 million, although Leonard can certainly speak much better to that part. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, can I, so, is there a way that this is going to pay for itself?
I believe it will. I mean, currently, the final slide is the financial slide. There's a slight error on that. We'll clean it up when it comes back to board. But in essence, the two goals mentioned on the final slide are projected at 6.7 million this year. I did mention that zero income against it. It's actually 141,000 in a small resource. So I'll get that corrected. But on the special ed side, we're in essence not earning any money on the program we're offering now. So
yeah, because I saw the term generate new revenue, so I assumed. Okay, cool. Keep going. Thank you. Sorry.
Do you have the questions? Do you want us to go through the presentation?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
If there's something else.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Washer. So I just want to say last spring we began having some meetings about really exciting with our agency partners and within district and how can we really improve the employment outcomes for our students with disabilities. And we all came along with the state at the same time that we really have to start early. When we're starting at 14, 15, 16, it's too late to begin to talk about advocacy skills and some of the things we need to teach our students. So to start early and bringing that back to preschool. I'm thinking how exciting it would be to begin in preschool to raise the expectations of our students and their families, all of our preschool students, and look at the desired outcomes for all of our students, including students with disabilities. About our goal is really we want our students to earn a diploma, right? We want them to have college as an option, and really we want employment. And we're talking in our world today to earn a living wage, not just to have a job, but to earn a living wage. And now they're talking about earning a family living wage. And how exciting would that be if we could start that dialogue in an inclusive preschool and move that all along through our district. There we go. And so again, we're having this planning from preschool to employment. So it all starts with preschool. And it is really currently a focus of the California Department of Education. Many things are coming out now with beginning at preschool, and I have to say it came from some of our work here in Lodii. Our current governor is talking a lot about preschool focus, preschool expansion, and they're putting a lot of money into preschool that we would certainly like to go after in the future. And that this preschool inclusion grant currently that he has on the table is $167 million, and we're asking for about 5, so we're sharing.
So we have a number of classrooms. We have 22 classrooms that we want to upgrade to state standards. And the total right now that we have of all preschool students is 878. Currently. Today, yes. The goal is to create an inclusive learning environment for all of our students, and something that's really important is to help students and adults see that disability is a natural part of living, and to provide all of our students these different learning opportunities. For the classroom, we already have one program currently at Claremont where we have a co-teacher, we have a special ed and a general ed preschool teacher teaching students. So we have 7 special ed students and 17 general ed students. That's one of the models that we'll be utilizing. We also will be utilizing general ed teacher as the main teacher, supported by an itinerant special ed teacher. We have that going on right now at Beckman and Park Lane. The classrooms will all have at least one general education paraeducator and at least one special education paraeducator, depending on the needs of the students.
You know, Denise, this is really a dumb question, but what age group is preschool?
3 to 5 year olds.
3 to 5, okay. All right, thank you.
Actually, that is a good question.
I'm
glad you asked. So we're asking, for the grant, it's going to be able to pay for the upgrade of the classrooms. So the state was really thinking when they said, you know, their goal is universal preschool. And the biggest hurdle is the classrooms and making sure that they can accommodate all preschool students. So they're giving us the money to upgrade restrooms, fire clearance, square footage, a number of things. They're also going to provide professional development, because general ed teachers need to learn how to work with special ed students, and special ed teachers need to know the curriculum for the preschool students. They're looking, also part of the professional development is focused on social and emotional learning, PBIS, so that our preschoolers have the spaces. So when they move into kindergarten and up through the grades, they're starting with that foundation and can continue it through diploma. And then also to include the necessary adaptive materials and items needed for students to access, whether it be ramps, assistive technology, choir lifts. So all of the funding in the grant will support us in those endeavors. Leonard, would you like to go over this?
This is the current staffing, the first couple of bullets, plus the current budget for these two goals. 5710 is infant special education, 5730 is preschool special education. Again, I will correct, this program generates zero revenue, but right now we came across one resource that it's a federal resource. It's projected to be $141,000 this year, but it is federal money, so we'll see. The 2.4 million in revenue generated estimate is very conservative, and it's only for special ed preschool kids.
Are all the preschool teachers, are they, I see general education, are they credentialed teachers on our salary schedule?
The general ed teachers?
Yeah, in preschool,
They're
preschool
not.
teachers.
Our special ed teachers are, but the general ed teachers are not.
So what?
They have their own pay structure, the general ed.
They have their own what?
Pay structure.
So are they higher on the, or get more or less?
Lower.
Okay. Thanks.
I just want to say, you know, Liz briefly mentioned this because she's being modest when she said that a lot of the state work is based on Lodii Unified. That is exactly what's happened. They have watched Liz and how she's developed her program. They have used her as a resource and an expert. Teams from all different departments at the state level, not just the Department of Education, have come to talk with her and see her programs in action. So she was being way too modest when she's saying that much of this work is based on Lodii Unified. It is, and it's because of Liz.
It's true. It's amazing working with her. So we need to form a leadership team, which will bring together general education, special education principals, parents, community agencies. That's a really big part of this. Local business leaders, family resource networks, past students that have been through our program. And the shared vision, this is Lodii Unified's vision, and it fits right in. We're providing a world-class student-centered safe learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, embraces diversity, and empowers all students to achieve their full potential. And our last slide, I'm going to let Liz explain this.
I just wanted to point out to the student on the far right is PJ Swan. She was a student that came through our Lodii Unified School District preschool as a deaf-blind student early on. And this year, she started her 6th year working for Lodii Unified.
I have a question. How secure is the grant? Is it yearly?
It's a 4-year grant, and.
So you're guaranteed for 4 years?
Yes.
Okay.
That was kind of along the lines of my question is a lot of times grants have a sunset and then, or a sliding scale where they provide up here and then eventually they provide here. So how does that work for this one?
So the way they've structured the grant is it's over 4 years, and every quarter we have to turn in reports and data to show that we are sustaining it and that we are moving forward with it. But at the end of the grant, we should have all of the classrooms upgraded, we should have all of the teachers trained, and all of the adaptive materials and equipment in place. So it doesn't provide for teachers, but it provides for all the bases and the infrastructure that we need to implement this program.
So
Just want to make sure it's, it's 5 million total. It's not 5 million.
Yeah.
So that's basically like a kickstart to get the rooms. Surprising, we're back in facilities, huh? So it kickstarts getting the rooms appropriate for special ed kids, bathrooms, and all that kind of stuff. So then once that is done, we have that, and then we would self-sustain with our ADA from that? Is that how that goes? Or is it going to be more of a deficit once the tails off?
Well, the way that we're pursuing this, expanding our preschool, is by gaining state preschool slots. So we can put our special ed students into these state preschool slots. And part of that, that's where the revenue would be generated. Because right now we get nothing for preschool students. So if they're in the state preschool program, for every 24 students, they provide a teacher and a general ed para. And depending on the program, the needs of the students, some of our teachers will be itinerant, some of our teachers will be co-teaching with them. So unless we have more students coming in, which our autism student population is growing, it doubled from last year. One of the reasons we think that happened is the American Pediatric Association is recommending that all doctors screen students at 18 months, and then if they don't pass, they send them to the districts. So that's where we're getting the growth. So yes, student growth could, but this is providing a cushion for that.
Okay. Everybody knows special ed draws off the general fund. And so you're saying that by doing this, we have access to different monies from the state?
Yes.
Okay. And it will be self-sufficient financially, or what is it?
I would estimate that it's self-sufficient. In the very least, it's going to be far less encroachment than currently occurs. A good rule of thumb for a full-day preschooler is about $12,000 per annum. Somewhat less than half if it's a half day. I think about $5,300. I believe somewhere around there. Then there's some issues with preschoolers in that they age out, they have to move on, and then you have to fill the slot. There still will be means testing for seats in the program. So that may prevent, although now with new legislation, seats can open up if all the means tested students have been served as well. But I think generally speaking, with the added revenue for special ed preschoolers that we're not earning right now, plus those $2 amounts, $5,000 plus for a half day and $12,000 plus for a full day, it's going to come pretty close to paying its own bills.
Well, when I was reading this, the picture I had in my mind is that you have general ed kids and special ed kids in the same classroom.
Yes.
Okay, you're nodding. Okay, so that's when I read it, I got it. I went, well, okay, so I just want to make sure that that is in fact, because we're saying the words inclusion, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
So that was, I guess, where I was kind of going with that question. Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
What's a day look like for a kid in your program?
What's a day look like?
To show up on there, what's going on?
Are you talking about what we have right now, or?
Yeah, right now.
So if I give an example of our inclusion class over at Claremont, students come in and it's a
What time do they
typical.
start?
At Claremont, I believe it's 8:10.
Okay.
And then they go to 11:10. And there's 2 teachers inside the classroom teaching, and they're teaching.
What's class size like? There we go.
There's 24 students.
Right.
Like I said, 7 of them are special ed, 17 of them are general ed students.
Sure.
And they're working on social emotional skills, they're working on play skills, they're working on all together. All of the students are working on the same thing, but our students with special needs have support in there. The teachers in there supporting them. They're adapting and accommodating for those needs, providing the support so that they're accessing the same curriculum, especially at the preschool level. It's very easy to do.
It's a 3-hour day.
3-hour day.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Denise, do they have any physical activity like PE?
You know, they what we call recess as they get older, they have play activity. So preschoolers, 3 years and 4-year-olds, you stick them on the playground and they don't really know how to interact with each other, at least appropriately. So they have a lot of activities during recess and then parts of lunch where they're actually learning to work and get along and solve problems and take turns on the slide. Yeah, things that we don't always think about.
There's always a bully.
Do you ever get the point or get the feeling that we're just providing free daycare for people?
No, I understand. That's a good question. That really is. The state preschools that we're going to be partnering with, they have a curriculum. They have training. Right now they're doing a CEFLS training, which is teaching all of their teachers how to work with students on their social emotional skills. They have the county that comes out and works with their teachers. And then on our side, you've heard about our autism program where they're all trained in evidence-based practices and focusing on learning skills because our goal is preparing them for kinder.
I just can't imagine why you would not take advantage of this.
Exactly.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for a great presentation. What a great idea. This is spectacular. This is a type of out-of-the-box thinking that we like to see and be on the cutting edge and provide the best to our students. I'd like to make one change. If we could go back about 3 slides, the one that says leadership team. Why don't you add the Lodii Unified School Board to that, because we're going to do everything in our power to make this happen. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much.
I just want to add one thing, and this will give us more opportunities to go after other grants and other opportunities for our students that we can work on together.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Way to go.
So do you have something you have for this?
I have one question while she's coming up. So how many classrooms will we need additional to than what we have now?
Right now, we're looking at the 22 we have. We have about 10 to 14 students in each classroom, and if we can bring state preschool class students into those classrooms, we already have those existing, the 22. So it's hard to tell. It's one of the things that I've been really trying to work on because, at any time with the way we assess students and the way they come in the waiting lists, we could have a surge or we could have, a lull. So preschool's very tricky that way.
That's in all the populations.
We're looking to upgrade all of those classrooms.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, correct. Yeah, you had a question.
But also, special ed staff will be preparing a recommendation to M&O on an additional 20 sites for classroom upgrades as well.
Classroom upgrades or?
For the extra 500 that may or may not.
Classrooms coming in, let's say, portables. Okay. And you know where I'm going with this. We're back at facilities, like I said a minute ago. Where are you going to put them, or I mean, more kids, they gotta go somewhere small.
Right, and so the 22 classrooms right now hold 250 students.
What you can expand.
Right, and we can expand up to 24 students per classroom, which is the other 250 that we're going to be asking for. So we're asking for a total of 500.
Go.
First, in seeing this presentation, as they've been talking about the grant, it's very impressive, and I have to say thank you. And thanks for including members in the dialogue and conversations about going forward. We are very excited to bring that PD to our general ed preschool teachers. I'd love to see us go forward with making sure that we continue that PD on with our kinder and first grade teachers, because as we are kind of blending them together at that great program that we've heard so much about at Claremont, as they go into kinder, those at all of these sites with that kind of, I want to say it's a blended model. Mm-hmm. So that blended model going into kindergarten class, that first grade, we need to make sure that we have supports in there as we go forward. We are really excited about this. I think it was Mr. Knackstead asked about our general ed preschool teachers, and I have to tell you that, as Dr. Washer pointed out, their pay structure is different. I would say it's the bottom of the barrel. It is terrible. And that's why there's such a high turnover, as we've brought to you in the past about preschool. So as we go forward, we'd really make sure that we're investing in those teachers to keep them here. And I think with our special ed teachers, I'm not sure. I don't think they're saying get rid of all SDC, mod severe, mild mod. I always mix them up. Classrooms, this is unique for those that can be in a blended classroom. So not all preschoolers are going to fit into this model. But again, it is something that benefits both our general ed kids, as you heard from all of the testimony 2 years ago, and our special ed kids learning from each other and being able to go forward in the world together. And what we saw, testimonies from those parents, I'm so excited about this going forward. So I hope we really give it a lot of support. The rooms are going to be an issue in modeling, and if we put our money there, I think we also need to make sure we put our money to keep those teachers, that we invest in that PD. So we look forward to more information going forward on this.
Okay, thank you, ladies.
Denise, what's the acronym? How do you pronounce the acronym?
I call it IEEE. Some people call it E.
I can get that.
Always has to be an acronym.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, last report, solar power, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. We've done some work on the current status of solar. I know we have a little bit more to do. We're still working on a comparison of one of our Stockton high schools versus Lodii High School, as Mr. Porter requested, but we're a little bit bogged down in that right now, but we'll get it to the board hopefully by next meeting if the board would like. The study that we were able to complete is currently we have solar installations at 4 sites, the 2 Stockton high schools, Krista, and then of course the district office. That solar generates about $430,000 worth of our usage annually, out of a total of about $3.3 million. On the item that's DJ, I think it's the top one. No, I'm sorry, it's the lower one. I tried to organize this in a way to sort of capture the research that I encountered when we began looking into this. Currently, I couldn't find anybody that seemed to feel that the market was in need of any more power on the grid. I think this may be indicative of the power sources that we currently use, that being PG&E in the Stockton area and City of Lodi and the Lodi area's reticence in purchasing any more power from us. Down at the bottom of the sheet, which we don't need to go to yet, DJ, but the board will note that our average cost per kilowatt hour last year was about 18 cents per kilowatt hour. City of Lodi will only pay us 8 cents per kilowatt hour production, and PG&E is down in the 3% or 3 cent handle. The concepts associated with building out solar, that being rebates and net energy metering, are pretty much defunct at this point. PG&E will still offer rebates, but as I just noted, they only pay 3% for unused power, so it's not exactly like the rebates offsetting the cost of implementation. Everything I've read so far, batteries are the key. If the market can produce a functional battery that will work over the long term, that is, I think one quote in there is, that's a game changer moving forward. In terms of considering whether or not the board wants to install more solar for green purposes, we're already at least 63% green. That being a combination of solar, other renewables, and then of course hydroelectric, which is a big power generator in the Central Valley. I was directed to actually work with the City of Lodi to ascertain what solutions might be available. City of Lodi came up with a very, very interesting idea. They still, by state mandate, must still continue to build out solar and generate more solar electricity. They don't have land to put panels on. We have land. They would consider a discussion that would create some type of leasehold on a property, say the board's 880 North Guild, where the new M&O facility is going to go, in exchange for power credits on our City of Lodi bill. We're still working with the consultant on the breakdown of one high school versus another, but the other report, DJ, just run through that really quick. Again, it mentions that roughly the same thing that I think is in the marketplace, that batteries are key to the cost efficiency of solar. But if the board did wish to get even further green, solar could play a big role in that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments?
I have a couple questions, Gary.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for the report. It was very thorough. I have a couple questions. And looking at PG&E, which is in our Stockton facility, is that correct?
Correct.
They seem more ample, is that correct, to working with us on using solar?
I believe you can still get rebates. There is no net energy metering. They only pay.
No, I know that.
Okay.
But as far as facilities, if we get more rebates, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, with Lodi, we are shut off from getting any rebates, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, they want to do land lease. Why not use our parking lot?
Well, if the difference in if they were to put a solar cover on one of our parking lots, food service, M&O, district office, that's not a big thing. They want to put it at one of our school sites, that's a DSA thing, and it will be very expensive.
Okay, now my next question is then, I understand that PG&E gives us a lower rate for natural gas. Is that correct? Because we're a public school.
I believe that's actually negotiated with our SPUR advisors.
When you say SPUR, what does that mean?
I can't remember what SPURR stands for, but
we do get a lower rate than the average person.
We do. It's a JPA. They negotiate as a big bargaining group.
So our natural gas is at a lower rate because we're a nonprofit, obviously public.
Not sure I can confirm that, but it is at a lower rate.
Okay. Why is it then that we haven't gone, I'm assuming you said $3 million there?
3.3 million.
That's going to go up the Stockton and the Lodii?
It's for the whole district, including administrative offices.
Correct. So what do we pay Lodii say?
I'm still working on that.
Okay. So I'm assuming you've done everything you can within Stockton, is that correct?
In terms of?
Solar.
I think the board could choose to put up solar wherever they wish to.
Correct. Now, as far as Lodii goes, we're probably one of their largest customers. What do you think?
I can't imagine a bigger one with the closing of the factory. I don't know anybody else. Maybe a hospital.
There's a hospital, yeah.
Hospital, maybe Hobarter's doing those little plastic things, but his bill was only $1 million a year. So I'm thinking we're probably 1.5, maybe 1.4, based on what I'm seeing here. And there's no way we have any leverage with them to get lower price? Because we are a non-profit.
In my discussions with the city, they've been very clear. They're dumping power every day.
So I know the buybacks are not going to work. I've been made aware of that because they have no place to store it. And I do know that the batteries are the big thing now. And batteries prices are going to drop. They're already giving rebates for Tesla batteries on your house. You can get $3,000 from the state of San Joaquin County, for example. So are we looking into batteries at all?
At this point, no, but we'd be happy to.
I noticed in here you did something with Tesla. It sounded very interesting to me. In May of 2000, that they were looking at 7 PG&E sites.
That's correct.
And why didn't we take that any further?
I wasn't here at the time. So
and they offered you a rate of 12 cents per kilowatt?
That's correct.
And is that lower than what we're paying now?
That is.
And then why didn't we do that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So have we gone back to Tesla for that?
We have not.
Okay. My other concern is, since we should be a role model since the state of California is considered the green state, is that correct?
I'd argue
You get credits for EV, you get credits for everything, right? Yeah. Why is the city of Lodii so reticent in not allowing us to go further in partnership with us? I did see the land lease, which I thought was encouraging.
I think it's just an economic proposition for them, and they can't afford to pay for the power at a loss.
Pay for the power going to their grid?
The reports I've received is that they are dumping power daily without being able to sell it.
Right, because there's no place to store it, which is kind of sad in a way. So are we kind of stuck with the city of Lodi? We can't work with them and lowering our costs? Because I did a spreadsheet on a residential between utilities owned by cities, Roseville, Santa Clara, and Lodi. If you're in the middle in terms of kilowatts, say tier 2, they call it, whatever, in Lodi your rate's double compared to those other private utilities. In fact, I think Lodi has some of the highest rates in the state of California.
I believe that's true as well.
Yeah, my concern is that this is money that we could be using for kids. And we're being hijacked by the city of Lodi instead of working with us. Now, we work with them on a joint use agreement. We work with them to use our facilities and so forth and so on. But I don't see any flow back in terms of this arena where we're just a cash cow for them for their city budget. And it's really bothersome to me. And if you need anybody to go and talk to the city council, I'll be glad to do it publicly. Because they're taking money from the state of California for kids, and we're giving it to them instead of giving it to the children. And I'm not saying we shouldn't pay a fee, but I'm saying we should have worked with them. And it looks like we tried to work with Tesla in the past. That was only 2 years ago, and then we just passed the ball up, I guess, on that. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So I would really, and I know it's the end of the day here, and we always put solar at the end when it's really critical, because I'm all about saving money for kids, so we can have bus transportation, things like that. I really think we need to revisit working with the city on this. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but you know, if we're the largest subscriber for their utilities, we should be treated a little bit better.
I would love direction to move forward on this land lease thing. That's a pretty novel approach. It gets the board into solar in a de facto way.
Right.
Without the massive upfront cost of building out the solar installation.
I agree with you on the batteries. We're kind of on the tip of that. Hasn't come down enough yet.
The one quote I saw is where batteries today are where solar panels were 8 years ago.
Right.
So
I looked heavily into this because in 2-3 years, every house will have a battery.
it's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming. It just may not be here yet, so.
No, it's not here yet because the city's standing in the way. I know you will not say that, but I will. Okay, I thank you for your report, but I'd like to explore the land lease and anything else we could do to mitigate our cost to the city.
I
The
would,
largest customers.
I would also think that you should go ahead and investigate this land lease deal. That sounds like a great idea to me.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Porter, I'm pretty familiar with the city of Lodii budget, and I can tell you exactly why, but that might be a parking lot conversation.
Too long.
It's a parking lot conversation.
Is it because of retired farmers?
And they're not, what's that?
Is it because of retired farmers?
Yeah, 30%. But I got to tell you, I think that this report, and I thank Mr. Porter for bringing it up, but solar, I'm telling you, I was skeptical at first, years ago, and we put it on our house, and I'm looking at my neighbor's energy bills. When my electric bill is like $95, and theirs is between $600 and $800, I'm sold. Solar works. I agree, batteries right now are not the way to go. I would concur with these other two that we should look at that land lease. Information doesn't hurt. You can always say no, we can always say yes, but information is really good. And the utility buyback is just kind of one component of it, but it will still save us quite a bit of money. And it depends on what the buyback is wherever your utility is. I mean, let's face it, utilities got to make money. They've got to stay in business. We need them. But also there are agencies that will help. And I think even just that little conversation we had about that land use, I think that that's productive. So I'm all in favor of it, and let's just see what we can do. And I'm glad that the report didn't give us obstacles of why we can't. It was more like, here's some information, here's some possibilities. And I like that take of a report, is how can we? So I do appreciate that.
I do have one other question. Have we ever looked at changing our schedule? Because we're starting in early July when it's the hottest.
That's another subject.
Well, we've got three people. We got three people saying go for this land lease. You got one more person say that?
Why not?
4.
We're saying for.
I mean, that's only
Informational.
logical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think that
All right.
might work. More.
Okay,
I
I
move
think
we
we're
adjourn,
done.
I move we adjourn.
We're out of here. Yeah, you guys are.
You're a better man than I am. I had to stand up. Sorry.